Joe presents Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby, together with Guinness.
Hello and you're very welcome to Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby here on Joe together with Guinness. How are you, Trimby?
I'm great, Baz.
Good.
Just great.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, getting into the Christmas spirit.
Yeah, clearly, man.
Obviously.
With those jeans.
Yeah.
They're unreal.
Christmas jeans.
Christmas jeans, yeah. Christmas shoes, Christmas smile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're looking well.
Christmas nose piercing.
Oh, yeah. You get a bit of abuse for that on Twitter last night, but sure.
Came out of nowhere, didn't it?
I know, yeah, look. I'm just being myself, man. What can I say?
Just right.
Thank you.
That was O'Connell tweeted you, wasn't it?
Typical. Did you enjoy the rugby over the weekend?
I did, yeah. Kingspan Stadium, I was along at the game and the place was bouncing and Ulster are absolutely flying, so yeah.
I love this competition,
Mm-hmm.
the European Cup. I just love it. It just, every round something else, it kind of adds and grows and just builds, and every round is more interesting. Like the first two rounds, first round and second round are kind of like an office party, and it's getting a little bit flirty and people are just kind of chatting to each other and texting and poking and stuff, like swiping. Like everyone's like, geez, Racing's fab, isn't he? He's a great dancer. He's great. And like Toulon's so hot. My God. And, like I'm kind of texting Leinster at the moment. They're quite career orientated, but they're actually good crack. Do you know? And so it's just feeling each other out and stuff like that, nothing major. But then when round 3 and 4 come in, things start getting a little bit more serious.
Yeah, you're going steady with Leinster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets it like, you go to his or her house one weekend, meet her family, his family. Then the following weekend they come to yours, they meet your family and stuff. And like, let's say Munster and Castres, like Castres would have come over here last weekend to Limerick and kind of probably a little bit like, I don't know what to make of this now. What's it going to be like? Could be a bit rough or whatever. And
Shall I call the father Mr. Munster or just call him by his first name?
yeah, it'd be a bit awkward and stuff.
Johan.
But then it actually turned out to be grand. Like it was okay. Like she lost, but it actually wasn't that. It was actually nice. It's a really nice city. People are really sound.
Limerick.
Yeah, really nice city. Great people.
Meh.
And
As nice as Cast.
I don't think Munster really gave her like a good insight either. Like I don't think they would have brought her down to the pub to see their mates or anything like that. It's just a little bit like, just give them a little introduction. And she had a great time, even though they lost.
Yeah.
And like most people were drunk at 1:00 on a Sunday, but she wasn't too bothered. But then this weekend, Munster were like, yeah, I'm going over to Castres, south of France. It's going to be class. Can't wait. See the new bird. And then it's like, shit, so crap.
They're breaking up between rounds 5 and 6.
Her family are
4
kind
and
of
5.
assholes and stuff. Shit, my thingy fell off. Her family are kind of assholes, and it was a bit rough and stuff. And
It's rough.
yeah, But then they get to round 5 and 6, and it's like this is where it's men are separated from the boys.
They're moving in together.
Yeah,
By round 6, they've got half a dozen kids.
yeah, it's getting serious.
Yeah. And they don't watch any more rugby at the weekend because they got so many kids.
Yeah,
They're like, I hate rugby.
yeah, that's it, man. That's my take on it. So, yeah, there's a lot to talk about from 3 and 4. Leinster beat the heads off Bath, basically. Ulster, as you said, great win up in Kingspan. Hopefully all set for Champions Cup knockout stages, while Connacht had a huge win again, 5 games in a row. So we're going to touch on all of that. We'll also have an interview with Ulster and Ireland centre Darren Cave that you did last week.
Yeah, I was flying solo again, Baz.
Yeah, you're getting really good at these, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Darren was an open book in typical KV style, just chatting away and giving us a lot more insight than your typical press conference replies. So yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did, which is what we want to hear. We've also got our Guinness Made of More Player of the Weekend, but first of all, we're going to go to Munster versus Castres, and what was...
I think I got my predictions correct this weekend, did I?
Did you say they would lose?
I said they would lose by a point.
Oh, we didn't.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Wow, I don't think you did.
That's in the assumption that no one ever goes back and listens to the old episodes.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to. So you've got it from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nasty, ugly, grim.
It seems last week just like stepped up another level in the intensity and kind of the bitchiness and the niggle, and there's a bit of everything, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Not that much, not that much rugby.
For considering the conditions were so bad, there was a few nice bits of play. I think just watching the people's feedback online, it's been like, do you know that South Park episode? I'm not sure if you know of Captain Hindsight, where it's like a superhero in South Park. He's called Captain Hindsight, and he just comes in. And he's like tells people what they should have done before and stuff like that. It's a brilliant character, but I think that's kind of the case with Munster this weekend. A lot of people wondering about whether JJ should have started or Joey should have started, or whether they should have let Rory Scannell have a pop at goal, considering his form of recent matches to kick in those kind of circumstances. But a lot of tough decisions for coaches to have made, I think, beforehand.
Yeah, it's tough. It's after the way JJ went last weekend. It's very tough on him.
Yeah.
But having said that, if you're Joey and you've been selected for the game and then just right up last minute, then you kind of cry off. There's something, a niggle. Then it would be tough then to lose out in selection the following week as well. So it's probably fair enough. I think if Hanrahan gets in and plays a couple of games and goes well and kind of backs it up, then I think at that stage you're going, right, well then it's very, very tough to drop someone. But one game, then I think it's probably more unfair on Joey not to put him back in.
And then Captain's Hindsight again, like not a great game for someone of Joey's style out of half to play, whereas JJ, I think, because he's been playing a lot lately for Munster, he's been used to those kind of conditions. He's played a lot of games. He's an experienced player, even at 26. So I think you can further make the argument that they could have gone with him, but it's such a tough decision. And again, if Joey had gone and kicked, I think that penalty before half time when Munster took a quick tap when they could have taken the 3 points was obviously would have won them the game, and they'll look back on that and they'll be their worst critics. And I hate analysing games like that because it's pretty obvious that would have won them the game and stuff. But and then a couple of Joey's kicks that he had in the second half were pretty difficult. They were far out, and even Connor's one as well, and with this soft underfooting as well while kicking.
Yeah, I suppose whenever the team selected, like early on in the week, I don't know, maybe Tuesday, the team selected internally. And to give the guys clarity, you need to get that team selection done early on in the week so guys can train knowing exactly what is going to be asked of them or what their role is. And at that stage in the week, do you have like certainty in what the weather's going to be like or what the underfoot conditions are going to be like? I don't think so, really. You do a little bit, but not with any certainty. So I think it's very difficult to make a decision. People always say that, we've got, for example, with Ireland, they've got 3 centres and you could play Bundy maybe when it's a little bit more wet, or you're going to be a little bit more direct with your game plan. But then I think you just pick your team and you just go over there and you kind of see what happens, because there's so much uncertainty and you just don't know what's going to happen anyway. Yeah. Leinster, for example, maybe last weekend, weekend before, against Bath in Bath, they went for Levy at 8, and I suppose that was maybe to combat Bath having effectively 2 sevens. But again, they probably just overthought it. I think you just pick your best 8, pick your best 6 and 7. I just think if you kind of just try and be too smart, sometimes that backfires. So I think you just go with whatever 10 you think is going to do the best job, and again, just don't try and overthink it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, that's Captain Hindsight.
Yes, it is. It's great. He comes in handy, man. He really does. There were a lot of positives, I thought, from the Munster performance. Even though there were tough conditions, I think Mike Haley's been a brilliant signing from this year. He's taken everything comfortably from high kicks, long kicks. His decision making's good. He's always plays with his head up. Second he gets the ball, he's got his head up, looking where the space is, trying to link. Earlsey came off his wing a few times. I love seeing Earlsey in that out the back pass when he's got, I think I've said this before, where he's got a bit of space in the middle of the field where he can put footwork on someone and sit down a D. It's hard to get off the line when you've got Earlsey kind of 5 yards off you or whatever. He'll do you any time. And his passing is pretty good at the moment, so you create a bit of space. CJ was like running over people left, right and centre.
CJ was back to his physical best, wasn't he?
Wasn't he?
Not that he hasn't been at his best, but it's just good to see him kind of doing what he has been doing so well for the last couple of years. Just physically, just dominating people. Yeah,
I think he gets targeted a lot because he is one of Munster's main ball carriers, so I think teams they'll go after him. So that's probably why he hasn't maybe made as many line breaks as he did the weekend. But God, he's so powerful. But yeah, I think they'll massively kind of feel like they left that game behind them. It was there for the taking. But look, blows the whole group open. That group is so exciting. I watched the Exeter-Gloucester match as well, and Exeter won, but they weren't. I wasn't overly impressed with either team, basically.
Exeter, it's strange to see. First of all, them losing at home last weekend, and then I'm not surprised to see them bounce back. But Exeter, it's strange to see them be kind of so inconsistent. At the start of the season, I would have said they were one of the teams. Them Saracens and Leinster, I would have thought were the three teams that could kind of compete, and Exeter just haven't really. I know I didn't expect Munster to go to Exeter and get a draw, and not a reflection of Munster, it's a reflection of how strong this Exeter side is, but they're just showing a little bit of inconsistency.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got their bonus point in the end and kept themselves in the hunt. Anyway.
I wasn't, and Gloucester, I think like defensively, neither of them I'd feel would be overly kind of. I wouldn't be concerned if I was Munster. I don't think they put a huge amount of pressure on opposition. They don't dominate basically in defence, and then attack wise, I just think Munster can handle both of them as well. So it's obviously a lot will happen between now and then, and it depends on who. I think it depends on who Munster can get on the field. That's becoming very obvious. Chris Farrell, huge loss to them over the last 2 weeks, having seen what he can do when he came back in the Pro 14, to then have him taken straight back out of the squad, I think was pretty rough.
Yeah. Is that serious?
I think it's a quad strain, is it, Pat? Yeah.
Won't be out for too long.
No, I think it was for like 4 or 5 weeks, so hopefully be back for January. And yeah, just, when they, I think John Klein is a big he's a big hole missing there as well. The more line-out operators they can get on the field, I think is pretty important for Munster in getting that set piece straight. But look, again, that group wide open. You said you were in Kingspan on Friday night. Ravenspan. Can I just call it Ravenhill? I'll never get used to it.
Yeah, I was up at Ravenshill, and it was another big performance from Ulster. I think any side can produce a big performance, a big bonus point win, just kind of spontaneously through the season, and that's what some people had suggested happened last week, especially having just got beaten reasonably badly by Scarlets a couple of weeks earlier in the league. But then whenever you back it up, then it just fills the squad with confidence, and I think Ulster are in a really good position now because it's just 10 points and just a consistent performance, and I think Ulster were really good for both 5-point wins. I thought they were a lot better than Scarlets both weeks. I thought they mixed it up really well, and it was so varied. The performance was, there was big defensive moments, and there were big moments with ball in hand. There were big moments in the scrum, big moments in the maul, and I think Ulster were just better in every department. I think that's the best Billy Burns has played. I thought he was brilliant. His short kicking game was just perfect for that Scarlets defence. They just like to come hard. Ulster are coming hard as well, but not their defence. I think we touched on it last week. It's just nowhere near as risky as Scarlets. Scarlets are coming off the line, getting past the ball, trying to make reads, and just taking chances they don't need to take. I think Ulster just dealt with it perfectly. First scrum on the right hand side, Billy Burns just put a little crossfield for Jacob. That one didn't go to hand, but it was just like a wee, just planting the seed with Scarlets. Listen, if you're going to come all day, come hard, then I'm going to put this behind you. And just, you would have thought that Scarlets would have gone, okay, well, let's take it easy here, but they kept coming. And Billy Byrne said, right, well, fine, I'm going to keep putting it in behind you. And he put, obviously, the one for Jacob was just a lovely little dink. It was like a little stab. Almost like it looked like it wasn't planned because it was right at the line, had the ball in two hands, and then
That's
just
the beauty of it, though,
dinked
isn't
it.
it?
So
Be
well
able to do it,
disguised. Yeah.
And he did it like 2 minutes later or a few minutes later, the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I actually thought I was watching a replay.
Yeah.
Because it was the same movement, the same style kick, and almost came off for Jacob as well.
Yeah, and the other thing that Ulster are doing really well in their fees play that helps them deal with the Scarlets' line speed is their little out the back passes from the forwards. They look a lot more tucked, and I think Ulster just look a little bit more streetwise and a little bit more savvy. They're expecting to get a bit of heat, and whenever you're defending that, if you're coming up and trying to read past and get to the back, who's out the back of the forwards, if that pass goes into his hand and he's tucked, he's just too far away to get to. So you go for him and then you hesitate and then you have to go again.
Yeah.
And then that's when guys look for tip-ons and get in behind you.
Disjointed, yeah.
And it was really nice. I think Ulster, it looked like they'd practiced that a little bit. It just looked like they were able to cope. Like they were almost manipulating the defence rather than the defence kind of calling the shots.
But the key for that is having huge ball carriers, isn't it? That those guys are a threat all the time when that tip on.
Yeah.
Or so like the way Hendo's carrying at the moment, the way McCluskey's carrying at the moment. They're it's just threats, as you said, the variety in their play.
Yeah.
So Billy Burns has got options inside, outside him, and they're all very aggressive.
Yeah.
Something Leinster have been so good at doing is that having so many options and
Yeah.
good options around each phase of play and creating that space.
There was another example. Actually, you're talking about a style of play to kind of suit the conditions. It was a little bit drizzly and a little bit windy at Ravenshill, and maybe 10 minutes into the game, Scarlets had a scrum left hand side in around halfway, maybe just inside Ulster's half. And what do? They brought Hadley Parks back into the starting 15. What do you do there when it's wet?
Yeah.
You give the ball to Hadley Parks, let him get over the gain line. But they tried this. It's a wee bit of a typical Welsh move. They've been doing it for years. They bring the 12 underneath the 10, and then the 13 comes short, and he goes, and then 12. So he looks like he's carrying the switch. Yeah. But he pulls out of it, and he pulls the ball back to Patchell out the back of 13, out the back of John Davis, and it was just so. It was so naive and stupid, and then Will Addison just came up and smashed him behind the gain line. Yeah. Ulster, on the other hand, when they got a set piece, they either brought Jacob in, or they brought Henry Speight, or they brought McCluskey, and they got a gain line. They got their pack into the game, and sometimes that kind of really, we were talking about the intricacies of Ulster's phase play. You can only do that whenever you set a platform to get your forwards going forward. And I thought they did that really well. The balance was really good, direct at times, and then just subtle with the kicking game, all that other stuff as well. So it was really impressive.
And as you said, the momentum they've got going, and the confidence they have is just given this momentum, and they've won 6 from the last 7. Yeah. What's your take on McFarlane? Like, have you got any insight into the camp? And they look like they're buzzing up there at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it seems like they're so maybe something similar to what you're saying about Munster. Once you keep guys fit and keep your kind of your first 15, I suppose. And once they're able to play, then you can see the big difference. But yeah, McFarlane seems to be just gradually having more and more of an impact, and I think that just seems to be coming in now. And as you say, the confidence that they'll get from that, and the momentum going into a few tough interpros just before, obviously Racing, in round 5 of Europe as well. So I think Ulster are in a really good position.
Yeah, they are.
It's going to be tough to top the pool. Having said that, because they're obviously Racing put a bonus point in them in Paris, and now Ulster are 5 points off them. So we're going to assume that in round 6, Racing are going to bonus point Scarlets. So then Ulster then in round 6 have to bonus point Leicester away, which is a tough enough ask as it is. But they also need to get 5 points at home. To Racing, going 10 points from your last 2 games is a big ask.
Yeah, I'd be ultra confident now that going into that. I just get excited with the idea of it being the miracle matches and Ulster getting 5 points against Racing at home. My only concern would be that they're conceding a lot of tries despite having these big wins. So they probably will concede to Racing, and you know they got to keep them without getting a bonus point. And I still think they could go over. I know Leicester's a tough place to go, regardless of whether they're out of it or not. But yeah, just again adds a little bit more spice to it when there is potentially the chance to top the group. I'm very interested to see how they'll play in the next couple of weeks. As you said, getting those best players on the field for the Champions Cup is the most important thing. So will they go out and make a ton of changes for the Leinster and Munster games, or the Munster and Connacht games? But they do need to keep playing that style of rugby.
Yeah.
They need to keep the momentum going. They need to keep that confidence up. So
Yeah.
if they're ringing the changes, I hope they
They definitely will, though. I doubt. I think there'll be none of the big names. I think will play all 3 games. They might go kind of. Well, actually, I was going to say they go full strength at home to Munster, but typically the model would be go full strength the week before Europe. So I think that's Leinster. Yeah, right, Pat.
The start of January,
Yeah. So again, that's down the RDS. That's going to be tough, but kind of go full strength there, and then that gives you a bit of momentum going into Racing. But then, as you say, it's important that the younger guys, the guys who typically wouldn't get a start, they kind of step up and
just play the same way.
Yeah.
And yeah, speaking of Leinster, we wanted to take a proper look at, well, I did anyway, want to take a proper look at Leinster's attacking game and how they kind of put Bath to the sword and how they regularly do it every week. So 3 ways in which I think that they're just so class at scoring tries. And I wanted to see whether you could tell me, how do you play against that? How do you stop that? So first one is just the individuals they have, like James Lowe, who took that quick tap and just, it's the difference between, I suppose, Munster taking the quick tap at the end of the first half at the wrong time when they could have taken the points, and then James Lowe just when to take it at the exact right moment and just barrel his way over and get.
Yeah. Anybody watching on TV, you knew what he was up to.
Yeah.
He's going for the ball there, and quick, lads, quick.
Yeah.
He may react quickly here. And big friend of the show, James Lowe, went for hugs instead of high fives.
Did he?
Yeah.
That's all, you were straight on there.
So we've made an impact.
Yeah. Oh, positive impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably negative, haven't we?
Is it?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
Sorry, James.
Yeah.
His hugging accuracy is very good.
There's
Start from
a
there.
smaller margin for error.
Imagine missing a hug. You should just do that. If you're listening, Joe, or James, just give us an inaccurate hug. Just hug a guy's waist or something. But yeah, you've got that guy, and like Adam Burns' leap from nothing, which was a penalty to Leinster, and Sexto puts across this ridiculously accurate, kind of, as Brian Driscoll said last night, quite an aggressive kick that Adam Byrne just had, the ability to leap above anyone else probably on the pitch and take a ball. So they've got that X factor in their individual players. But
so the kick, when he says aggressive, he just
the
means
trajectory,
it's lower, isn't it?
It was,
So it just gets there quicker, and then it just gives Adam Byrne more of an opportunity. So if the
meeting
ball's,
it like that.
rather than if the ball's kind of dropping, you're kind of waiting under it for a second. All of a sudden, if it goes on another second and a half, then the area becomes more crowded, and you have to manipulate your run up into it.
Yeah.
And if the ball's coming flat, whether you take off kind of 2-3 meters, there's a bigger area that you can take off and be accurate.
Yeah.
Where you kind of coincide with the ball arriving.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's dropping, then it's harder to do that. Adam Byrne it was textbook, wasn't it? Just got his knee onto the guy's hip, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, your
Nudge.
hip." Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I'll use that hip of yours. Thanks.
Can you imagine I'm going,
Yeah. So it was perfect. It's nice to see.
Yeah.
He competed well for a couple other ones actually.
Yeah.
He looks really comfortable in the air.
Doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of come out of nowhere over the last few weeks. We know what he can do, but he's really playing with confidence. And yeah, I love that they've got those individuals that can have those moments of brilliance that kind of out of nothing. But then, obviously, the accuracy they have in the micro plays is the foundation for what Leinster do. The O'Loughlin try when Sexton did the little loop with Ringrose, obviously kind of textbook Leinster, textbook Sexton wraparound. But when you look at it, Brian Driscoll broke it down again on BT Sports last night with how like Bath had 8 defenders in that part of the field. A lot of teams wouldn't have actually tried to break them down, would have just carried into the belly of them, tried to kind of just recreate some more phases. But Ringrose took such a good line and with such intent gave the Bath defenders a little nudge. Sexton goes on a quick wrap and he's through the gap, and you're talking inches. Like if there was an inch off either one of them, there would have been a scrag somewhere, or the ball might have been not as crisply passed. Sexton goes through the loop, and then they flood the line with support runners. Larmer just beats a couple of defenders, and then brilliant offload, and again great support lines.
So that loop play that Leinster do, I think a misconception in what they're trying to achieve there is that they're trying to get an extra man to beat them on the edge, which I don't think is always the case. Occasionally it will be, but on that occasion, what you're doing is you're changing who the defender has. You're just confusing things at the line, especially with Johnny. Whenever you give it back to him, and what Ringrose did well was he didn't get too wide off Johnny.
Yeah.
When he got the pass, he kind of narrowed up and thought, instead of struggling to kind of sit down that defender, I'll comfortably sit down this defender.
Yeah.
And he sits down him, gets a little bump, and he's legitimately kind of in the line, causing a disconnect, and then Johnny just gets his nose through.
Yeah.
It was really perfectly executed. And at Leinster have been doing that. Johnny has been doing that for years.
Yeah. Well, they do it every within every phase of play. It'll be ran.
Yeah.
How often would you do that in training under Joe Schmidt for the last 7 or 8 years? Is that an everyday thing in training, or is it just, is it practiced in micro skills, or is it just practiced in team plays?
But yeah, it would be practiced a bit in team plays. I would imagine it's probably practiced more with Leinster than it is with Ireland. Ireland would have introduced a little kind of wraparound play off 9, kind of maybe a couple of years ago. That can be really effective because you can't then all of a sudden they can't shoot. You manipulate their defence, and that they have to sit down, and it's frustrating for them. Otherwise, if someone gets past, then that's when Murray would get his nose through, like Johnny did. But I don't think Ireland would do it, practice it as often as Leinster would. We used to, with Ulster, we'd had a play where, say, 10 hits 12 and 13 comes short, and then you can either play 13 or you can play out the back to 10, that little move that they do. And Ulster had we would call it something, whatever it was, not what the Leinster were calling, not what Ireland were calling it, but we would say, I remember Darren Cave and I actually having a conversation where we'd say, will we play it early? Play it like the way Leinster do it, or play it the way we play it?
The right way or the wrong way?
Exactly, yeah. Because the way that we would have typically done it would have been let Johnny or let the 10 get round wider and then hit him. But then if he's wider, it's like a little bit what we were talking about earlier on with Ulster's phase play. If he's not as tucked, then he's open and he's available, then the defenders can shoot and they can get him. Whereas if he gets the ball in his hands earlier, then he's on the move, and it looks like he's getting it, and he hasn't actually achieved anything. But he's accelerating on that arc,
and he can see the defenders in front of him, as opposed to getting the ball on his inside shoulder and being blindsided.
Yeah, and if he gets it early and someone does come for him, he's got the ball in his hands, and he can call the shots. He can play the tip on and get him behind the next defender. Yeah. But it's such a simple play.
Yeah, and I suppose you're right with Leinster doing it probably more so than Ireland, because they can all do it. You saw Ty Furlong standing in 10 for, he must have been first receiver for 5 or 6 times and creating space. And that's probably the third way I would look at how Leinster score is by having so many varieties of play off open phase. So having an inside option off Johnny, having a forward with a tip on with Johnny out the back, and their ability to do it very accurately. And when they are tipping on, you're tipping on to someone like James Ryan, who's making 4 or 5 yards every single time he touches the ball, because defenders have got so much more going on around them. It's the variety of play.
Yeah.
So how do you stop that then, Andrew?
Well,
You did beat the All Blacks. So
yeah, but
surely
never,
you have the answer.
but I never beat Leinster. I think so. O'Driscoll touched on this in his kind of analysis. Is it from? I think it might have been Lowe who got nudged by Ringrose.
Mm-hmm.
Just this, like a really subtle nudge, but just enough that meant that he couldn't get out, and then Jamie Roberts, I think it was, couldn't get back in because he got high. I think you just need to kind of trust the guy on the inside of you that he's going to make that tackle on Ringrose, so you're not going to get bumped and you're going to keep kind of balanced, and then you can get off onto Johnny. If someone shoots independently of the rest of the line, then there's always a gap either side. So you need to keep moving forward all together, which is a really tough skill to kind of maintain that organisation. But I've done that on Johnny, specifically in the past, and I've shot on him because I thought if I rush him, but he just gets the ball in his hands so early, and he's so switched on. He knows kind of what to expect. How many times has he been in that position and made the right decision?
What to do with every opportunity.
And the guys round him know just if they see a defender going on him, then they'll just come slightly closer to make that pass easier to get in behind. I don't know. Is the short answer.
Okay, yeah, me neither, man. It's terrifying. Well, I think we'll in part 3 we're going to go look at some of the pools and where they're all standing at this point, and who potentially will, end up being in the quarterfinals, and who will have to look at how to beat Leinster, how to beat Toulouse, or how to beat Racing. So we'll get stuck into that. But first of all, in part 2, you went and had a good chat with Darren Cave up in Ravenspan last week. So let's have a quick listen to that.
We've got Darren Cave here. He's a serial podcaster. He's very experienced, so I think this is going to go somewhere very uncertain, and I've got very few notes, so let's see where it takes us.
For the record, I'm actually still playing as well. There seems to be a bit of, there was an injury.
Your career's gone great with the podcast since you retired.
I know. No, I'm still playing. Done a bit of podcasting, I'm enjoying it, yeah. I think rugby interviews have just become so boring.
I know.
Honestly, one of the worst things I'd say about playing for Ulster is the press conference. And going in, I feel sorry for the media, but there's a bit of a deadlock, I think, between, as a player, why would you say anything? Because it'll be used against you. And in the media, they're going in to listen to, they'll be physical, they'll bring loads of energy, so they're hitting it as well. And as soon as they do get a soundbite, they're on it. So it's kind of
You can see they shut down. They get something, they go, we're done.
Yeah,
I've got
we don't need anymore.
I've got all I need.
I was just about talking about the Dragons. Don't worry about it.
The Dragons? They're like, who? Is it the Dragons you're playing the weekend? All right.
If you mentioned anything about... there was an article, Handy had a concussion, and they were... suddenly, and he spoke about he was speaking about the HIA process, about how well we're looked after. It was actually, I thought it was a really interesting article, and the headline was, Henderson, concussion, blackout, nightmare. And I was thinking, so you can see, but
I bet you read it. The clickbait worked.
It got me.
It got you.
It got me.
Yeah.
But that's you now. You don't describe yourself, or are you identifying
I'm still one of the lads. Look at me.
I just have been, as well as doing podcasts, I've been listening to Joe.ie.
Yes.
Not the other one.
Oh, good man, yeah.
And
big rival of ours.
Yeah, so I heard you speaking about the media and as if you weren't one of them.
As in the third person.
Yeah, so there you go, yeah.
Yeah, no, well, so you've done, would you listen to Second Captains, Off the Ball, Joe.ie?
Listen to, my favourite one's the Rugby Pod, because it's the most obscure content. The less kind of, listen, we both like a bit of rugby noise sometimes, but lines and, but just the interviews, the more different they are, the more you get to know the person as opposed to people who come on and are sort of guided by media. So I like that one a lot. The new Peter Crouch podcast is quite good. He just seems like he's just a funny guy. And then I like Flintoff Savage and the ping pong guy.
What about non-sporting like Joe Rogan or stuff like that?
I've given Joe Rogan a go, but they're hard work.
They're long. When I see a podcast and it's over 2 hours, I'm going,
I've actually been referred to as the Irish Joe Rogan recently.
That's a great slang.
There are a lot. Like
Who came up with that? Fair play. That's good
it
work.
was a bit of banter between myself and Greg Jones, who's very, as you know, very decent player first of all, but forget about that. Very intelligent.
Yeah.
Great for just a random discussion. On it. You could drop in something about Elon Musk, and he'll just go. And you'll be like, wait, this is a bit all right.
Yeah.
So he loves a good podcast. But
I always look for him on a Tuesday morning.
Greg Jones?
Yeah, I always look for him because I think you called me on it as well. I think so. He's Greg Jones, for a bit of context. He's a young fella in the academy, and so last year he might have even played actually by this time last year. And Game of Thrones was going on. Greg Jones is a big Game of Thrones fan, and he's clever, and he's done a lot of research, and he can talk like about the different families and the backgrounds and who's related to who and all, which is like, it's an absolute quagmire if you get into it and you haven't done your homework. So I have a memory like a goldfish, and I can't even remember what games I played in 2 or 3 years ago. But Greg Jones, on the other hand, remembers every single detail about Game of Thrones. So I went to him. I was like,
to find out what happened.
I would watch it and I'd be like, what happened to Greg? Explain all that. Who was that guy? What was going on there? And you called me on it. You said to me, I must have said hi to him or something. You went, what's his name? And I went, Greg Jones. We talk about Game of Thrones.
Well, that's always the one, because it was Paddy Wallace. He was the one. He used to get the young players' names wrong. Remember that? Who was it? He got
it was
Cal McCall and Conor Carey, was it?
Oh yes.
Because Paddy, obviously, we know he's known for being like really smug. When he's got a bit of information, he would give it the old, man's a good wee player. I'm going, who? He's going, Cal McCall there, 16 tackles for Ireland under 20s the weekend. And I'm going, that's Conor Carey, pal.
Here, he did something to us. So Darren and I were working for BBC at the weekend there, BBC Radio Ulster, a grand total of 15 listeners.
Yeah.
So you can say what you want, but
it's big.
In the media room before, he had another smug moment, Paddy.
Yeah, so what was it? He was, so it was the New Zealand game?
Stuart Barnes.
Wayne Barnes.
Who's Stuart
Same
Barnes?
thing. Yeah, Stuart Barnes, exactly. So before the New Zealand game, Ireland had a 20% win ratio with Wayne Barnes. So nobody knows this. Paddy's gone on to ESPN.
How would you know that?
I know. So he comes in and he's giving out the Ireland's win percent ratio under Wayne Barnes. And I'm going, okay. And then thankfully, so we got through it, found out it was 20, and then you came in and butchered it.
Yeah. On purpose.
On purpose.
And he said, Trimble, tell me, what do you think Stuart Barnes' win ratio, or Ireland's win ratio under Wayne Barnes is? And I went, you know what, this is lower than I thought. So I was like, I'm going to ruin this. I went, 5%.
He was gutted.
Yeah.
He was absolutely gutted. He was like, 20.
It's actually more than that,
So
believe it or not.
And you were like, oh.
Yeah. Well, that's reasonably remarkable then. In that case.
Paddy.
Yeah.
Enjoy RTE radio.
That's smug Paddy. Yeah. So anyway, so you again, I know you clarified that you're not retired.
I'm not retired.
But maybe people are getting the impression, because you're quite proactive with what's going on off the pitch. You've got the donut shop. You're doing a bit of media. You've done a postgrad in sports science, sports psychology.
Something, yeah.
One of those ones.
Yeah, ish.
One of the ones at Jordanstown that
doesn't count. No, that's your theology degree. It doesn't count.
Exactly. Yeah.
But look at you now. I got a sports science degree, sports psychology masters. I don't know if I want anything. I find all that stuff interesting. I don't think I want to be a sports psychologist. I don't know what I want to do after rugby. The coffee shop's been cool. You know yourself, it's such a bubble. And people are always like, what do you want to do when you retire? And you're like, why would I ever want to do anything else than play rugby? So it's hard to go and be like, I want to sell commercial insurance. Why would you want to do that when you've played professional rugby for so long? I guess the thing, I want to be in a position whereby I'm excited about the end, if that makes sense. I don't want to be a guy that ends up coaching because they're stuck and there's nothing else to do, or a guy that plays for too long, or when I'm ready to go, I want to be like excited about something else and go on. Look, how good was it that I got to do that? Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
not,
absolutely. No, I think it's great because it is quite a daunting experience. I was, in some ways I was excited about what was going on afterwards, but I was more excited to get away from rugby, to be honest. So there was an excitement for one reason or another, but it is quite a daunting experience. I know that some guys find it tough, so I think you're certainly doing the right thing.
Well, it is something, but as you know, you can think about it a lot and you can prepare yourself, but again, it's just so hard. I think that's what's so good about guilt trip, to actually just go and learn. And you know, Rugby Players Ireland, as you know, are very good, and they'll come in and you'll do a course on project management, but you'll listen for 3 hours, write a couple of things down in your Esport Heath book, and then like put it in the ideas basket, and you get a certificate. But you actually haven't really learned anything. So like to go and like open your own shop and make loads of mistakes, but it's your own money and you learn. And I've learned so much, and part of that is that I'm not sure if I am like a real kind of entrepreneurial spirit. You know, the people that are, you know, I want to have 6 shops in the first year and I want to have 50 staff, and I've kind of realised that I just don't really think that's who I am and where I want to go. But it's definitely been class, and I've learned so much, and I do enjoy it. And I think it's good for your rugby as well to not just, you know, be 24/7, because as you know yourself, it's a bit mad.
Yeah, no, getting that exposure in the real world since I retired, as if I'm this wise
You are
wise to the ways of the world. But 6 months out of the bubble made me realize just how naive, and you're not in this category, I wouldn't have thought, because you are very proactive, but how kind of just indoctrinated or like institutionalized we are as athletes.
Yeah.
I say we because, you know, remember I told you.
Yeah.
Still one of the boys. But yeah, it's like stuff that applies in the life of a professional rugby player in that environment, day in, day out, just doesn't work elsewhere.
Yeah.
And,
different rules, isn't there?
I know. You can't pull people's trousers down.
Who'd have thought that is not acceptable in the workplace?
Yeah.
Or you can't walk into the showers and go, good size. You can't do it.
You can.
I presume you can't do it.
Yeah, well, you can actually only start doing that in the last 5 years. Before that, it still would have been, what are you doing, mate?
But yeah, I mean, in our sort of era or generation of players, whatever, are probably the first one to relate it back to media. Like, we're the first ones that like had the personality beaten out of us in terms of like, I remember being in media training in the academy, and we were taught at that stage, you know, they would ask you questions about the new stadium, because at that stage, you know, it was going to the maze, and it wasn't a controversial thing, but it was a new thing, and it was. And we were warned, look, don't comment on anything like that. Don't give anyone a soundbite. And experiences of players making comments about other teams, and the newspapers being in the change rooms after the game where they put up quotes about how the team, you know who I'm thinking of, Niall O'Connor.
Oh no, I was thinking of us offending Leinster a couple of times.
Niall
Joe
O'Connor.
Barakat said that Leinster were boring.
Yeah.
We played them a couple of years ago, and the last.
What would be the word I would use?
No. Exceptional.
Good at winning stuff, I would say.
So
Joe must have liked the, you know, win at home to Leicester one week, and then
exactly.
he must have enjoyed that.
He liked the roller coaster.
Yeah.
What was the Niall O'Connor one?
He was. I think we lost at home or drew here to the Dragons. And he'd said something, you know, he was like very, very naive, and he'd said something pretty innocent, but it made a headline in Wales, and our kit man was cleaning their change room after, and they'd got a load of copies of this newspaper. It was up all around the sheds.
Brilliant.
And that was about the same time that, do you remember Kieran Dawson?
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Did he miss the conversion?
I know it was right in front of the post, I think he got it.
Yeah, and then their coach didn't. Who was that? Was that Sean Hawley or Lynn Jones, one of those ones?
I thought it was Dragons, anyway.
We
were beating them easily. And then last play of the game, like we'd already had our bonus point easily.
Yeah.
Kieran Dawson, back rower, stepped up and took the conversion. and then that was their thing
Yeah.
for years afterwards. How dare they be so
It's
disrespectful?
probably still going.
Yeah,
These boys are at it again.
Yeah.
Players are going, huh?
yeah, exactly. Kieran Dawson. Yeah.
But in terms of like that, I've sort of found the last year it quite refreshing that I'm not really as fussed, do you know, when it comes to like, do you know, just getting on Twitter and just get involved and, do you know, say something about Brexit or, do you know, get involved, have something about government or just something that, and it's been cool because a lot of people actually like it. And I guess like I've kind of just become a bit sick of the, they'll bring loads of energy and loads of physicality and, you know, we've got a new coaching team and they're probably better than the results would suggest, you know, they've been a little bit unlucky and, you know, we particularly at home.
And that's wasting everyone's time now, isn't it?
It breaks my soul.
But it's annoying though, when you go into a press conference, all you're concerned about is not making a mistake. What is it? It's just a pointless exercise. You may as well not do it. They're just reading or writing stuff.
It honestly is probably, like, people say, what's the worst thing about being a professional rugby player? That doing that press conference, and it's not a go at the media. I think they're doing their best because I think it's tough. It's, you know, it's opening one of the papers and saying Cave aims to be centre of attention again, and I'm like, I'm not really what I was alluding to.
I was always concerned that the boys would read this and they're like, oh no, does Rory think I want to be the centre of attention?
Yeah, it's funny. Do you remember you won't remember. You don't remember what you had for breakfast, but I was doing a photo shoot and I had to hold like two of the wee, do you know the wee flashes like this, and then like, you know, so they're taking cameras, but they're in sight. You know, and then like on the Belfast Teller, one of these papers, a couple of days later, there's this like picture of me like this here, and it says like, you know, Cave wants to be centre of attention.
Yeah.
And I'm like, pal, it's your first start in 14 weeks. And you're like, follow me, man.
Yeah.
I've got this.
Exactly.
And then you go get it handed to you down in Galway or something. So
what about a tiny little bit of rugby chat? What about obviously the news broke this week about Joe moving on? Is there? I mean, do you see potentially if Farrell comes in there that, you know, a change of regime, that might be an opportunity for you to kick on next year after the World Cup?
It's not really something that I was chatting about this on the radio or a podcast or something. I'm sure everyone's already heard this, so sorry to repeat myself because I know you guys are. So
I'm sorry to give you the same question twice.
Listening to all my content again. I've actually really enjoyed watching Ireland the past while because I've really good sort of, I don't know if closure is the right word, but I feel when I was just out of the Ireland squad, I was always kind of going, oh, I could be in there, and you always felt if someone didn't play well, there was still a chance, and then it was much harder to watch the success because you felt like, not that you deserved it, but it could be you. Now I feel like I'm just like, I watch Ireland now with like 100%. I'm just happy for them. I think like in every position, but to talk about the centres, I just think they've got like smashing players. Particularly the three boys who are on the show in the middle at the minute. Like, and to think like Darcy and O'Driscoll had such a successful career at Leinster, and to think now what like Ringer and Robbie are doing. They probably have the potential to be as good, if not better, than those two. So it's not, I don't really look at it and go, oh, I should be in there, you know. I just enjoy how good Ireland are, and I enjoy it as a fan, and enjoy watching it and talking about it.
We shared that moment actually during the All Blacks game. Again, both of us proper Ireland rugby fans, and whenever Jacob got the ball and put the ball in behind, we were screaming, shouting, you know, and it was a nice moment.
It was.
We're both genuine, and there's no, I mean, again, rewind 5 years ago, whenever, maybe if I'd have been not getting any joy when Kidney was in, or you weren't getting any joy the odd week, and, you know, you would have watched it and you would have, in case anybody's watching, you'd be going, kind of happy, but just...
The runner-up Oscar.
Exactly, yeah.
Well done, Jacob.
Yeah, the Joey triviality.
Yeah. But he does seem to, the ball just does seem to bounce from him, and I said when that, and it was such a great try. And now Ireland, as you know, have this generation of players that are like sub 25, particularly the ones at Leinster, that are just so used to success.
All getting lucky, aren't they?
They're so lucky. Like, none of them are talented.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I look at Ringrose and I'm like,
He is so lucky.
You're just the poor man's Darren Cave. The ball just bounces for you, though. That's the only difference.
I know. I think we're bad for each other, you know.
Don't quote, by the way.
Don't use that.
Do not.
Actually, don't use a load of this stuff.
You can use it, just don't turn it into a headline.
Exactly.
It was a joke.
Pat will turn that into a headline.
Producer Pat didn't make it up the road.
No, he's on his day off.
He doesn't know the way, I don't think.
I don't think he had days off.
He's not up here much.
He doesn't like it up north.
Don't know. You said it.
He thinks it's a hard border already. He thinks it's April.
Exactly.
Anyway, I think that's all we have time for.
Oh.
I know.
All right.
We're flying.
Well,
Darren, thanks so much.
thanks for having me.
Good man.
Okay, that was Darren Cave with Trimble up in Ravenhill. That was very enjoyable.
Oh,
Very enjoyable listening.
Baz,
Yeah,
thanks,
I'm loving
man.
your one-on-ones.
Yeah.
I'm not jealous anyway, to be honest with you. I'm just thoroughly enjoying it.
Well, that was a couple of weeks ago when you were away doing your thing down under. But I believe you've got a couple of interviews lined up.
I do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, down in Limerick.
You didn't tell me about that, did you? Pat told me.
Well, you're more than welcome to come to Limerick if you want.
No, it's,
You're grand.
it's too far.
Yeah. We'll let you know who they are during the week. But just something quick I wanted to talk about with Darren there. Something he talked about when he, stuff his interests outside of rugby while playing and potentially after when he finishes. Did you see Roy Keane and Gary Neville talking about Jesse Lingard yesterday for launching his clothing range? It was hilarious. So he launched his clothing range a few days before United played Liverpool. Gary Neville was outraged at the timing of this because he picked the Liverpool match, the biggest game, arguably of the season for United, and it was a distraction. And then Roy Keane came in and said, if that was a good, strong dressing room, that wouldn't be tolerated. That's why I worry about United dressing rooms. For a younger player still learning his trade, he could be the nicest kid in the world. I don't know him, but you're coming out with all that nonsense. I think football should be your number one priority. People say you should have other stuff outside of football, but I don't think you should. Don't hide behind your cards or tattoos or girlfriends or agents. Just play the game, then you can do that when you retire.
So it really snowballed, didn't it?
Yeah.
He kind of got going and he was like, you know what, I'm going to drive this home here. Yeah. So football being your number one priority, rugby being your number one priority, fine. But hiding behind, I don't know how that corresponds to hiding behind your cars, girlfriends. Tattoos. What has that got to do with tattoos?
Hates tattoos.
Tattoos are neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Really, when it comes to launching your clothing line. To be fair, right, bad timing.
Yeah, don't pick the Liverpool match. Gary Neville's point was perfect because he was like, I don't mind what they do outside of it. And the same, but we've all been in those situations where it's a big game. You're playing against Leinster, or you're playing against Ulster or something, and you keep the head down that week and you don't go making a noise about something else. So. Yeah. But Keno just went. He's so good at it. To be fair, just going off on these rants, they're very entertaining. But do you like KV as a cafe? Has a cafe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So KV's he's pretty switched on.
Yeah.
He's got a few interests outside of rugby, and he's got a cafe, and he did his postgrad at Jordanstown there a couple of years ago, and he's kind of, as he mentioned in the interview, tweeting about politics and stuff. So he's reasonably well rounded. Otherwise, if you take Keane's advice and you end up, I think this is one thing I discovered whenever I finished, how kind of, again, I think I touched on it in the interview with Darren, you become just institutionalized, and all you know is the guys around you in that culture, and it's a bubble, and it's not real life, it's not normal.
Yeah.
So when you go outside of that, then you have to kind of learn new skills and just learn to kind of cope with what's expected elsewhere, or different kinds of conversations. And I think that what Darren's doing is really proactive and really normal.
Normal, that's the word we're looking for. Yeah. Be normal.
Yeah, I know. So I don't know.
And I think when you're injured as well, for Darren, it's so nice to have something outside of, because rugby injuries can be they can be long term, and I found myself in situations a lot where I was out for between 8 and 12 months, and for me it was, I don't know if I ever told you, but Felix Jones moved to Limerick to play with Munster, and both of us ended up being injured at the same time, and we lived below and above each other in an apartment block, and Felix was learning how to play the bodhrán. I was learning how to play the guitar, so we decided to get together with Felix's housemate Dara, who was a sprinter who's also injured at the time. We started playing music, and that was where Hermitage Green came from.
Wow.
And that was our Monday nights when we were bored at home after training, and then that became our hobby. So, I mean, I would never be a musician now if that didn't happen. I would never be in a band, and I would never have a career outside of rugby. So
Felix brought Hermitage Green to a point,
It's
and then
another-
you were like, Felix, listen.
you're done. Well, it's another sliding doors moment, man. If Felix hadn't moved to Leinster, or if he hadn't started learning the bower on, it would never have happened. So yeah, it's incredible. But I think Keane, I think you need to relax your small bit. But anyway, moving back into to the Champions Cup, I just wanted to run through a few of the pools there because I find it, as I said, I love this time of year when we start getting into the nitty gritty of who's going to come out on top, where we're going to be looking for home quarter finals,
Who's sleeping with
etc.
who?
Exactly. Yeah. So, like I said, Munster went to Castres, and it expected it to be gorgeous in south of France, meeting her family, but then her younger brother turns around and tries to eye gouge you, and her other brother backflips you over, and then the other brother does a slide and tackle on you. You're like, what the hell? But there was a few incidents in that game, wasn't there? That the eye gouge. Did you make much of that?
I think he kind of, I don't know, he kind of fends him in the face, but I don't know if it's a gouge.
It wasn't gougey enough.
It wasn't gougey enough.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was just shy of a gouge.
Yeah. More slappy.
Which still, to be fair, is still not allowed.
No.
Not allowed to make contact.
Not
with
allowed to
anybody's-
make contact with the face. Yeah.
Yeah, but God, I don't.
Someone was
know.
yellow carded at the weekend. Glasgow 7, I think, was yellow carded for just a bit of a pat in the face. Which is fair enough. You can't do it. So
Yeah.
should have been a yellow card.
That was one of the ones where
Should have been
he,
yellow card. Yeah. Should
well,
be
he was getting really frustrated by getting his jersey tugged, just being held.
yeah.
And that is annoying, to be
It
fair.
is,
And
it
he
is.
turned around and thought, I have to hit this guy.
Yeah.
I'm at my wit's end. I have to hit this guy.
He needs a slap.
You
or a pat.
you know how I'll get away with this? An open hand.
So we need to lose that mentality totally, because it's not worth it. Maybe stand on his toe
Yeah.
or just kick him in the shins or
Kick him in the
something.
chest, I was going to suggest.
Yeah. Or stand on the toe is so nasty.
I don't believe there's any legislation in the law for kicking in the shins.
Yeah. There isn't. Yeah.
So
Toe
do
bag in
your
the
worst,
shins.
ref.
Okay, you heard it here first. But yeah,
There's going to be an outbreak of shin kicking this
Shin
weekend.
nothing worse than a shin kick. man.
Baz and Andrew ruin
Toe
rugby.
peg, a rake up the front of your shin. Oh, filth. But yeah, that group, pool 2, if let's say Munster lose away to Gloucester, if Exeter beat Castres in the next round, then it looks like everyone's either going to be on 12 points or 10 points going into the final match. How exciting is that if you're a fan, which we are? Obviously, I'd love to see Munster getting a win over Gloucester and an Exeter, but blows pool 2 open. Pool 1, back to that for a second. Toulouse again beat the they actually had a pretty tough game against Wasps over there. So Wasps actually could have won that game. They had a decision to, or they lost a penalty at 29-27 from a scrum, which I thought was pretty harsh, which kind of gave Toulouse the momentum and went on and won it convincingly in the end. But they're beatable, so I think Leinster will take them at home, come out top there.
Yes.
Just
Yeah,
a hot take.
absolutely.
Also, Intimac, son of Emile Intimac, has so many of his father's traits in that he's class, but he has zero interest in defending. He just kind of runs sideways. Remember Emile Intimac used to do that? And he'd be like, anytime he'd come up against the All Blacks, he'd be like, nah, not tackling them. And he'd run away. And
I think his dad's like, that's my boy.
run away. Run away. We just ran away a few times the weekend. Zero interest. So obviously with Leinster, as we went through the wraparound play, I think they'll surely target him.
They'll be wrapping around flat out.
Intimate. Pool 3, I was impressed with Sarries the weekend, but I still think Cardiff could have beaten them also. Cardiff had a chance to go for 3 points, similar enough to Munster. Sarries had a yellow card, could have gone for the points, would have put them ahead, and they went to the corner, got turned over in the maul, and the game changed.
Yeah.
Momentum swings. Sarries went. Now they're impressive, but again, I wouldn't be overly worried about
Saracens?
Yeah, I don't know. Is
I,
that
thi- I don't know. I think Cardiff are a very difficult side to beat. Ulster struggled against them
Yeah.
a couple of weekends ago, and that was kind of put in context with where Ulster are now at.
Mm-hmm.
Now at, I guess, as if everything's completely dramatically changed, but
Yeah.
certainly the form that Ulster were in, 5 points home and away to Scarlets. It's the same side that played against Cardiff, and they struggled at home to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Cardiff are actually a decent outfit.
Yeah,
I think Saracens, to be fair, beating Cardiff home and away is
not an easy feat.
yeah.
Okay, all right. I get it. Shat all over my point. Glasgow, however, I'm a big fan of.
The
Thought
Glasgow
they were
All
class.
Blacks.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
Yeah.
I thought Hastings, started the game, terrible conditions over there, but still just throwing the ball around.
Yeah.
Solid player, good kicker.
Yeah.
They've got a good backbone through the team.
Madawalu,
yeah.
tearing it up.
Jinx, yeah. He's got great, cool, blonde dreadlocks. It's
Yeah.
class.
He's got it all, that fella.
Yeah. So very interesting. The Racing Ulster one we've went through already. And then to the Edinburgh Montpellier situation. Both of them would be kind of the teams I'd be hoping if I was any of the Irish teams that I could potentially come up against one of them. Not to shite all over them, but yeah, I think Edinburgh, they'd be hoping for a home quarter final, but I think they're beatable. They've done well in this competition, but they're
beatable, though. I think you might have saw when obviously Munster hammered them a few weeks ago, but I just think Edinburgh, whenever they get their big names back, they're really decent outfit.
Mhm.
Again, sorry, same sort of point I'm making about Cardiff, but I think when they're at full strength, they're capable of big performances, as we've seen.
Yeah.
Newcastle home and away. Newcastle, really up and down.
Yeah.
Unbelievable first 2 rounds, and then kind of struggled.
Yeah.
That back to back with Edinburgh. So Edinburgh, they'll probably beat Montpellier at home. I don't know if that's round 5 or round 6, but then obviously Toulon away would be difficult.
Yeah. Okay, and then just a quick chat about Connacht. That is 6 wins in a row. Five wins in a row for them. Huge win for them over in Perpignan. Again, I think the job Andy Friend is doing there is he's created such a great buzz there. There's a great atmosphere. I think they were in a little bit of disarray under Keane last year. No one seemed to be happy within the club. So it is great, and they have a huge couple of weeks ahead for them now, getting off the back of all those wins, getting a chance to have a hop off Leinster this weekend, down in Galway, and then is in Galway? Oh, it's in Dublin. Even better. Go into the belly of the beast. And
That's the point you were making.
yeah.
Anyway.
And then to play, and then up against Ulster the following
Ulster,
week.
yeah.
Yeah. So I can't wait to see those games, because obviously the Connacht games haven't been televised over the last couple of weeks, but I'm looking forward to seeing how they get on.
I just hope we get, for those Interpros, I hope we get as many fully strength sides as possible.
Yeah, but
Just
even
to
even without with Ulster, I look forward to seeing fullback or buddy. Mike Lowry
Mike
back
Lowry.
in the pitch,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to Jack O'Tout maybe getting a run for Munster. Looking forward to seeing a lot the 2 O'Briens in the centre for Leinster. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing these young lads now that they're establishing themselves. So, which I think will probably be the answer. But moving on quickly to our Guinness Made of More Player of the Weekend, and your nominees were Ian Henderson, huge game for Ulster again. Connacht hooker and captain Dave Heffernan, leading his side to another win over in Perpignan. Tig Furlong, the new Leinster out half, and Munster's CJ Stander. So thanks for all your votes and comments, and the winner of Paul O'Connell's teeth is Tig Furlong.
Have we haven't actually made
teeth?
O'Connell's teeth, have we?
No.
Did James Rand, did he ever get? We'll sort that out.
Yeah, we'll get there.
in the new
Give
year.
us time. Give us time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tig wins. I didn't even think it was Tig's best game for Leinster. He was quiet enough, despite he was just standing it out half, just swiveling.
No, Tag was off his game, but it's still the best player in Ireland at the weekend.
Okay, and finally we've got hashtag AskHOR. We put out a shout for Twitter questions using the hashtag AskHOR, and here are some of your best ones. James Slapman asks, are English clubs taking this competition seriously enough, or are they far more interested in their domestic competitions?
I think their players just don't get looked after by a union. So whereas in Ireland all the players are released out to the clubs and their game time is managed. In England they just have to keep trucking week in, week out. So I don't think they don't value European Cup. How can you not? It's such a special.
It's the best competition, right?
It is, yeah. Arguably, maybe some of the French clubs don't target it, but I think in England they can see the value of it. I just think they just don't get the chance to manage their players and get them kind of peaking for European games. Yeah,
fair question. Chris Long, how do you rate Louis Ludic's tackle technique? He can be one-on-one with someone twice his size, but always gets the ankles or knees and man to the ground.
Honestly, Louis Ludic is one of the best one-on-one tacklers I've ever come across.
Really?
He is brilliant. In open space, he rarely gets beaten.
Does he attack? I remember Felix was really good at this. He used to attack a defender, like if they broke the line and it was one-on-one with a fullback. Fullback would normally wait and hunt them down.
Yeah.
Felix used to do the opposite and just attack them and chop them.
To trick them, almost so that
they're expecting you to wait and stand off.
Yeah.
And you make the decision, whereas he was making the decision for him.
And they go,
Works like every time.
Yeah.
Would Louis do that, or?
I don't think so. Louis, I just see Louis all the time, especially when he's at 15, coming across, or if he's on the wing from the other side and he's chased across, and if the opposition have got round 15 and he's coming all the way across, he just seems to read their body language really early. I don't think he does that little Felix trick, but he just seems to read their body language and always gets a solid shoulder on.
Cool. Yeah. Okay.
Great player.
Good man, Louis.
Good man.
Great boy you are. Ethan Bracken, best question of the day. If the Lord of the Rings is used as an analogy for Irish rugby, with the Fellowship of the Ring being the Declan Kidney era, etc., then what individual roles do the players have? Are the All Blacks the rival, and New Zealand itself is Mordor? Eden Park being Mount Doom? So much in there. I think you're right, man. I think, Declan Kidney definitely being Bilbo Baggins, the little hobbit man who has the ring now. The ring is the power, power, whatever. Didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think the All Blacks have to be Mordor and Sauron, the all-seeing eye of the All Blacks, and you kind of trying to get there and defeat them. And
I've got one. Can I? Yeah. You know Sean Bean? Remember when he in the first one? I think it is. He goes after he changes his mind. He becomes bad.
Yeah.
He's Kieran Bracken.
Whoa, that's so good.
Take that, Kieran.
That is so good. For any of you who don't know, Kieran Bracken is Irish, but decided to
turn the other direction.
Turn to England.
Turn bad.
Turn bad and try and take the ring. Try and kill Frodo.
He stole the Frodo. He stole the ring from
Frodo. From Frodo being Draco, maybe?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Okay.
Especially when he had that long blonde bleached hair. A little bit Frodo-esque.
Little fingerless gloves.
Yeah. I think there's got to be a good few hobbits like Raj, be like Samwise probably, loyal.
Yeah.
Beside Draco. Who are the other hobbits? Darce maybe be a hobbit. I think the likes of you and Tommy.
I know where this is going.
Quite elvish, wouldn't you?
I thought I was going to be Treebeard for a second there.
John Hayes has got to be Treebeard. Slow, a bit old.
I think Dev needs to be Treebeard.
This is more Declan Kidney's era now. Remember, was Dev back in?
Listen, let's not get bogged down in the details. Baz. Don't shoot that down just because he's a couple of years late.
Okay. Dev Treebeard, definitely. Sorry, of course. Slow, little bit like.
But makes 22 tackles. Yeah. It's very effective.
Oh, Treebeard kicks ass, man, when he starts lobbing rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
Paulie, probably the only ginger, is the Gimli, the little Angry Dwarf. The
Yeah.
axe, him.
Yeah.
Again, I like the fact that you and Tommy were maybe like Legolas, like a little bit like.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
What a
just.
massive compliment.
Do you reckon Elvish a little bit boring up there, coming from the north, a little bit like.
I see you're trying to
knows?
water down the compliment, but it's too late. I've been complimented already.
Who else have we got? Name some other. Gandalf.
Oh, who's Gandalf? Sexton.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Although, again, if you're going to be detailed, then the Declan Kidney era didn't.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I like it. It's great. I don't know. I'm running out of Lord of the Rings
I say we wrap it up.
people. Yeah. That's great. Thank you for that brilliant question,
Yeah,
Ethan
nice one.
Bracken. That was superb. So keep those questions coming, lads. They're the kind of ones we're after, and the rugby ones as well. They're very enjoyable. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable show. So we'll be back on Sunday of next week because, is that all right with you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
See
you
you
can do
then.
Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a few gigs this weekend that I'd like to kind of promote, if that's okay. Yeah. We're playing in Galway on Saturday night. Hermitage Green in the Black Box, if anyone's around. We'll Kilkenny on Thursday night, Athlone on Friday. Let's come out and see us. And that's for us. So, Trimby, this has been Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby, here with Joe, together with Guinness.
Party on, Baz.
Party on.